It's 8:16. President Trump's attempt to fire a member of the Federal Reserve's governing board is alarming many U.S. economists. Some view it as a big threat to the central bank's independence in decades. Financial experts warn the president's attempt to pack the Fed with loyalists would lead to interest rate cuts that could cause higher inflation. President Trump is trying to fire Fed Governor Lisa Cook over unproven mortgage fraud allegations. She has filed a lawsuit in her fight to keep her job. With some insight on all the numbers and that, we turn to our friend, wealth manager George Noceti at Morgan Stanley. George, happy Labor Day weekend. Great to have you with us.
Morning, Frank. Good to be with you.
So Fed Chair Jerome Powell has been under fire by the Trump administration to lower rates, and it appears that could happen when the Fed meets again in a couple of weeks. What effect will a rate cut have in the short term? And what do you make of President Trump attempting to make some changes with our Federal Reserve Board?
Well, Frank, the odds are very, very high that we'll see a cut on September the 16th when the Federal Reserve meets. The Fed wants to nudge borrowing rates lower, keep the economy humming. The immediate effect for the consumers will probably see a little slightly lower credit card rates, slightly slower rates for car loans. Wall Street will just take off like a rocket because it's a sign that rates are going to get lower. But Main Street, there'll be really not a lot of change for Main Street. Mortgages will still be, relatively high. The Federal Reserve rate doesn't affect the bond rate. The bond rate's really affected by two things ultimately, and that's inflation and the budget and the deficit that we have. And so it needs a good, consistent, strong message in order for these rates to come down slightly.
Any comment at all on the situation with the Fed, though, and what Trump is trying to do? Will that affect our economy?
Well, we don't really comment at Morgan Stanley on any presidential decision. That's really their discretion. But we do comment on the effects and the bond market, which really controls the lending rate for mortgages and how much we have to pay out in order to get countries to buy our treasury bills. The outside market doesn't like the fact that our dollar has gotten a little weaker since January. It doesn't like the fact that we have a large deficit and we're not really showing how we're going to control that. Those are really main issues, and they're also keeping an eye on inflation. So, in the United States, we've had our bond rating decreased slightly. So the lenders are not going to have low rates for a long time because they're not sure, they're not confident. And it's really separate from the Federal Reserve. And so what the president does have an impact. When we have more stability and our dollar gets stronger and we show a plan to reduce the deficit, that's when we'll really see the mortgage rates come down. Nobody wants to get stuck with a 3% loan anymore when it really should be 5 or 6%.
I hear you. How about tariffs? What impact are they having nationwide and here in the Bay Area?
Yeah, well, tariffs are really a hidden tax, Frank. A nationwide costs will slowly rise for businesses and for consumers. Locally, though, for example, the Port of Oakland, as an example, they will see slower traffic. And our auto and construction costs for businesses will rise, which will impact the consumer. So the impact of tariffs, will slowly manifest itself over time. But the big hidden thing that happened Friday is that the $800 de minimis tariff rule went away. It's a little known rule, but people have benefited from it, that if you buy something under $800, there haven't been tariffs. It started off really small, and that loophole got bigger and bigger. That ended on the 29th. So that means if you're buying online or buying anything from abroad, you'll start to see, those prices really rise because now goods that are $800 will be tariffed, especially for the folks that are going to Europe and are going to bring things back. They're going to have to declare that now and pay a tariff tax on it.
How about investors, portfolios, the rest of the year? It's been a pretty good year, I know, at least on Wall Street. What do you see there?
Well, we're in a bull market. In fact, the last 4 months we've seen the market increase, even though this last week the market was down a bit. It's really a misnomer. We're in a bull market that has a lot of volatility. So it's really important for the average person to understand this is not a sprint. It's really a marathon. So diversify your equities. If you want to be in the U.S. only, then make sure you have some value stocks in addition to your tech stocks. Make sure that you have some mid-sized companies, and you might consider some small companies also, because if the lending rates are lowered, small companies will be able to borrow. try to build income, try to put some cash on the sidelines, look for opportunities when the market dips, come back in. And please have a sleeve of international. International has outperformed the U.S. stock market this year. That would have really helped your portfolio. So, don't let the headlines dictate your strategy. Understand what you own and be diversified.
All right. And finally, quickly, George, I just won the Powerball. I'm calling you. What do I do with $1 billion out of the gate?
Well, Frank, there's 4 things you ought to do. The first one, don't sprint to the Ferrari dealership, please.
Okay.
More people lose money because they get new money that they've never been used to, and they go out and buy crazy things. They really change their whole behavior. But the second most important thing is really go dark, Frank. Don't tell anyone, even though we're on television right now. Keep it a secret. Most fortunes are really lost due to people really not being prepared. So go dark. Otherwise, tons of people will come at you. They'll drive what you're going to do with your money. Third thing is lawyer up. Build a team around you. Hire the pro, hire the tax pro, the estate planning attorney, maybe even hire security, a financial advisor to head up the project. And Frank, don't forget the first part. I mean, the part number 4. Hire me to help you.
I was going to say,
money.
and what's your phone number again, George? Well, I hope someone in the Bay Area wins this. Boy, wouldn't that be fun? We had a couple.
Oh, it'd be terrific. It would be terrific. But again, it's newfound money, and most people, if you read the history of people winning the lottery, they lose it because they've never had this much money before.
Well, I'd like to try.
So be careful.
Okay.
Be careful, Frank.
Morgan Stanley's George Noceti with some sage advice if you were a Powerball player. Great stuff, George.
Now you can buy the Ferrari, Frank.
Okay. Well, I might pick you up. All right, George.